Good evening, everyone. It's Latoya from Pieces of Lily. This is episode 2, and today we're going to talk about 10 things that parents of children on the spectrum wish you knew. So we'll get right on in it, right? Number 1, we wish that you knew that one child on the spectrum is not going to be the same as another child on the spectrum. My daughter is verbal, but I have a friend whose daughter's on the spectrum and she is not verbal. No two kids are alike. So we need you to understand that and know that, right? Number 2, I am an expert on my kid. I am not an expert on everyone else's child. But we do share commonalities. So even going forward in this show and as we progress and build, I think it's important for everybody to kind of know in the back of their head that each parent of a child on the spectrum has completely different experiences. Their child suffers or thrives from different things, and everybody's case is different. So we need to keep that in the back of our heads. Number 3, yes, all parents are overwhelmed, but keep that in mind, that all parents are overwhelmed, but we're dealing with IEPs, mixed diagnoses, whether that's autism spectrum disorder with ADHD or ADD or an ocular issue or whatever. It's a couple of things, right? And, like IEPs, physical therapy, occupational therapy, speech therapy, insurance issues. I'd had a lot of issues with insurance trying to find someone who was in network to be able to provide my daughter with ABA therapy. That was a challenge, and that was part of the delay in her getting the care that she needed for months. What else? Wait lists. She was on a wait list for speech therapy for months, so all of these added things on top of just it being overwhelming because you're a parent, right? So we kind of wish that you guys knew that. Number 4, we spend a lot of time waiting, whether it's, of course, on a waiting list for something, waiting for the next meltdown to occur, waiting for the next bad report from, say, a teacher or someone like that. We also wait for interventions to work, though, too. As the child is, going through the different therapies and things like that, the hope is that things will improve and get better. So we wait for those interventions to actually work. So it's not all bad waiting. Some of it's good waiting, right? So number 5, and I imagine everyone kind of could guess this, we do feel alone. Because not everyone's going through what we're going through, for the most part, our friends and whatnot, we all became parents, right? But you're never prepared for this type of diagnosis, right? And nobody really gets it because they're not experiencing it. It's very rare that you find someone that knows exactly what this means and how this will impact the trajectory of not only your child's life, but your life as well, right? So oftentimes we feel alone in this. Number 6, we oftentimes experience more setbacks than successes, but we also have to remember that we're working towards a goal, we're working towards growth, we're working towards progression. So we'd like for you to know that. Number 7, of course, we worry a lot. We worry about our child being bullied. We worried about our kid not having the same opportunities as the next child. We worry about, will they be able to be independent when they grow up? Will they be able to get married and go to college or, start their own business or whatever the case may be? Will those things be a reality for them? Those are things that we worry about for sure. Number 8, and this is something that I've experienced quite a bit. We oftentimes would rather not go to an event or go on date night or do whatever, because people truly say, oh, they'll say, hey, yeah, I can babysit. She's a kid, whatever. But they've never been around, learned about, try to understand what it truly means for a child to be on the spectrum. And it can be extremely overwhelming for people. So instead of having to figure out who is most qualified, who is most experienced, things like that, we oftentimes just say, you know what, I'm not going to go to that thing, because it's just, I just don't want my child to have a bad night, because in turn I'll have a bad night. We just avoid it altogether, right? So that's a big thing. We don't want we don't want your unsolicited advice. More times than not, I've heard people say it's strictly a behavior thing, and you just need to discipline them. Like, you don't yell at your kid enough, you don't spank them, you don't do whatever. I could go on and on and on about this, and their ignorance, but whatever. It drives us up a wall, because it's so much more than our child just not listening to what we have to say. And then number 10, we as a people don't need awareness so much as we need acceptance. I know I read a statistic years ago that said 1 in 68 kids are in the US are on the spectrum. I'm sure it's much higher now, right? We need acceptance. Like, this is what it is, right? And so with that, there's some things that need to be changed, or that need to be more accessible. For example, just services across the board. In the particular area I live in Tennessee, we're starting to see more and more ABA clinics pop up. Obviously speech therapy and physical therapy have always been around, right? But we're starting to see more ABA clinics specifically geared towards children on the autism spectrum, because that's the only real therapy that's been proven to be most effective for children on the spectrum. So we're seeing that pop up more. I'm not sure how it is in other regions, but we are seeing that more. But I'm sure it's not nearly as much as we need, because I know of people who are on waiting lists, right? We also need equal rights, but that's a given. Quality education is a biggie, and affordable health care. I'm actually in the process of transitioning, or potentially transitioning from one job to another. And the first thing I did as soon as I found out who the health insurance provider for that new organization might be is I called them and I said, hey, are y'all in network or out of network with ABA? And then more specifically, in network or out of network with our exact provider, because she's been going to the same, getting services from the same clinic for, it'll be like 2 years in February. So it's really important that we don't interfere with those services, because it has been the difference between, in 2020, where she couldn't tell me she loved me, to now she's saying, Mommy, I'm upset, and all of these are the reasons why. It has been game-changing, ABA therapy in particular. And so it's important that you're able to check with insurance providers to make sure that they will pay for the services that your child needs. And a lot do not. Even I had actually reached out to her clinic yesterday before speaking to the insurance company, and I was like, hey, are y'all in network with such and such insurance? And she's like, yes, but some plans consider us out of network, so just make sure, and da because it's you never know. And so I checked into it, and everything's okay. But I know initially when we were trying to get ABA therapy, we probably looked at 3 or 4 different clinics before we got this one, because they didn't cover ABA services at all, or at least our insurance didn't have a contract with those companies at all. So those are big things. So yeah, those are the 10 things that I think myself, and as well as a lot of my friends who have children on the spectrum, really wish you knew. Our next video will likely be 10 things that a child on the spectrum wishes we knew, because their perspective is huge, right? So I will see you next time. Bye.